Ari, how are you?
Adam, I'm just great over here in the lovely month of May. My birthday month for everyone who's unfamiliar.
It's May, the lusty month of May.
We've got you in March, me in May, the M month babies, 92 M month babies.
Yes.
Yes.
So Ari will be turning 33.
You have already turned 33. I will be turning 33.
Well, I'm a man, Ari. I can turn 33 and I'm fine.
days.
You're a woman. It's basically over for you.
Oh, my expiration date is coming up.
How exciting!
No, I think there is. I don't know if all the women or just fellow femme beings feel like as we get older, there's like a freedom that comes to us because we as you get older, you learn to like decenter men from your life because classically, famously in capitalist, like patriarchal culture, girls are inherently taught to center men from like the very beginning.
Okay,
without
Barbie
even realizing
movie.
it.
Okay, Barbie movie.
Without even realizing it. It's like sometimes I look back on certain things just like growing up and I'm like, my God, like eek, you know? And so I think there's something about when you get to around your 30s or, you know, as you're heading into your 30s, that's when you are like decentering men. And then, oh my God, it's just like freedom after that. So fuck you, Adam, for being a man.
I would say I definitely don't have the experience of like decentering men from my life, but I feel like the like general thing of like getting older is I just feel like I feel like the older I get, the more I feel like I don't know everything and it's okay.
Yes,
not that I'm not trying to find things out.
Yeah.
But like I don't have all the answers and it's okay.
Yeah.
And more of the realization that like no one has all the answers.
Yes. And if they're trying to act like they are, they're lying to you and to themselves sometimes. Like
or they're trying to sell you something.
Oh my God, girl. The entire Instagram situation right now. It's like everyone's Instagram is like a business and they're trying to sell you a course. And I'm like, please, can this not be the Instagram norm? I really don't want that to be where we're heading. Like it's the new, I shouldn't say MLM because it's not an MLM, but it's like that vibe.
Yeah. It's like LinkedIn. Like if you go on LinkedIn, it's just like,
Whoa, see, I'm not a LinkedIn girly at all. What is it? What's it like over there?
Not good. It's it's just like people being like, today it'll be viral posts that are like, today I had to say no to an incredible candidate. This is why, as a project manager hiring staff member here at blah blah blah, I feel very blessed. And it's just like,
oh no,
this can't be that serious. This can't be. It's not good.
Yeah, shut that down. We don't want it.
Well, Ari, do you know what? Hogwarts doesn't have to they don't have to hire for a Muggle Studies professor because they've got one in this chapter.
They do. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's the best candidate for the job, but
decidedly it's not.
It's a candidate. It's someone that applied.
I saw. Did they apply?
Or was a sign?
A sign?
Yeah, they're like
posted
I didn't apply for this. Yeah. They're like, I didn't have a choice.
Well, Ari, this week we didn't read Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. We read chapter 12 called Magic is Might. What happens in this chapter?
In this chapter, Harry, Ron, and Hermione discuss pulling a ministry heist and commence their ministry heist, is what I would say.
And you would say it so eloquently.
Thank you. It's one of my better ones, you know. So at the beginning of the chapter, she's doing the thing where she's writing from the perspective of the Muggles that live in the neighborhood, which like every once in a while she does this. It's like the folks on the street had gotten used to the fact that it was just 11 and 13 and there was no 12. And it was just like a silly little thing everyone knew was a part of the neighborhood. Isn't it a little weird that she didn't choose the number 13? Because sometimes people will not do 13 because it's like seen as an unlucky number.
Yeah.
So I was like,
I wonder why she chose 12.
12. Yeah.
Yeah. Because obviously, like, she is, this book series is obsessed with the number 7. Like, it's very important.
Very clear.
And so we haven't gotten I don't think we've gotten anything, though, in the series with 13. Are there 13 anything?
No.
I don't think so.
13 is a significant number, I think, to like the goddess.
Miss Her.
Which is another reason why they tried to make you think that 13 was unlucky because, what do you call it? Like Christianity did not want you to know of the pagan traditions. Yeah, I just am curious why. Because she could have easily picked 13, but she just didn't. So I would just wonder why she really wanted to do 12. Because it's weird that it's like 11 and then 13. Like it would make sense with the weird superstition around the numbers to have it be 12, 14.
The number 13 is found in the harmony of the earth cycles, moon cycles, women's cycles, and in the cosmic order of the universe.
Yeah. That's why she didn't pick it, Adam, because she was like, no.
Well, at this point, I believe it.
Yeah. I'm not kidding. So basically, yes, the residents of this neighborhood have kind of gotten used to it. However, they're not used to, or some folks in the neighborhood are not used to these, I don't even know what she refers to them as, just kind of like strangely dressed men that start loitering in the neighborhood, kind of staring between 11 and 13. She does say there's like some Londoners that don't really like take notice of them, but the reason why their kind of odd outfits stand out is because it's summer. So they're like, why would they be wearing, the people that do notice them are like, why are they wearing those long cloaks when it's like so warm? So
can I just say this even before I've had the past week I've had on TikTok with discovering content about Harry Potter, this chapter is so strange. The way this chapter starts is so strange. It starts out almost the way the other books' first chapters start out.
Yeah, but this random chapter.
This chapter 12 in the middle of this book decides that it's going to start from this like omniscient narrator perspective.
Yeah.
Where like normally, I mean like, I don't think she has the most clear narrative voice in all of literature, but normally it's Harry's perspective that we're kind of viewing the world from. Yeah. So it's super weird. It's definitely weird to start it out by being like, the neighbors were always blah, 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 because she's done that a couple times and fine. Yeah. And then go into just like general chat about, it doesn't even say like Harry had noticed that they had been more of them had been standing outside. Yeah. It just like is
still from like the locals' perspective.
It's very strange. It bumped me when I was reading it because I was like, why are you writing like that?
So suddenly. Where are the editors? Yeah, they don't exist. They're just like, just get it out.
Yeah. Put as many words as you want into this book.
Though. Adam, I do think that is. Sure. I need to ask, does anyone know about like editing lore? Can someone tell us? Because I genuinely believe with some of my favorite authors, I feel like this happens where it'll literally be like as the book series go on. Yeah. Or just certain series, like certain series start off really well, but then like towards the end, you're a little bit like, okay, I think we've lost the plot. Or like when they weren't as big, that series actually holds up better because the editor probably was like a bit more harsh. And I'm like, I understand sometimes as a writer, your editor is going to push for something and you do have to stand your ground. Like, I get that. And that's fine. I'm not saying that like you should just roll over and do whatever your editor says. But some things like this, where it's like, you know what, it would just make sense if we could keep the, what is it called? The perspective, the narration viewpoint.
The narrative, like, the
lens,
perspective.
the like narrative lens, whatever perspective. Like, we should keep that as consistent as we can, unless it's like a standalone chapter, maybe like the one with like Frank, or like where we have that one,
or
with,
even like
Dudley,
Snape
Vernon
doing the unbreakable vow or something like that. Yeah.
Because if it's was that one the first or second chapter?
In that book, that was the second. That was book 6. That was the second chapter, because the first chapter was the Minister of Magic. So they had 2 in a row where we were outside of Harry's perspective.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So on September 1st, specifically, the residents of Grimmauld Place noticed that there are half a dozen men out front staring at these 2 houses for whatever reason. And there is a moment, because apparently they have these moments where they think they see something. Like they've witnessed the residents that aren't apparently really paying attention to these men, however, have somehow also noticed that they randomly see things, even though they're not really paying attention. Like, I'm just like, girl, make up your mind. So they've noticed something, but then they, like, a moment later all just kind of like settle back into place. So now we're back with Harry. And Harry,
I just want to say something too.
Yeah.
2 weeks full, like, let's say they got to Grimmauld Place in the middle of August.
Yeah.
Technically, we actually know they've been there for basically the full month, because his birthday happens, the wedding happens on August 1st. They immediately go to Grimmauld Place that night. Yeah. So we know they've been there forever.
A couple of days before Creature found Mundungus. So it's the beginning of the month.
Right. So they've been there for the better part of a month, like 25 days of the month they've been there.
Yeah.
The neighbors would be calling the police, being like, there are people just hanging out in the street, just watching our home. Like, people are just staring at our houses. Because it's one thing, she writes it so that you're supposed to be like, oh yeah, they just watched the crack between that we know what that means. But like, a muggle would be like, they're watching our houses.
My house. Yes. Day and night.
This is me on the rotary telephone. Ring, ring, ring. Hello.
I thought you were recording them.
Can we get the constable?
Yeah, hello. So now we're back to Harry's perspective. He apparently almost lost his balance when he apparated onto the stoop of number 12 Grimmauld Place. So they're not wrong. They did see something. But Adam, this was so weird how she wrote this, because I replayed it to make sure I was hearing it correctly. He is wearing the invisibility cloak, but they saw his elbow. What?
I had the exact same thing. I read it twice because I was like,
what are you saying?
So she writes that he tripped on the top step. So then I was like, I think we're supposed to think that because of the trip, his part of him comes out of the cloak. But like, Mama, guess what? That's not clear.
Because I was trying to remember what, the previous lore that is somewhere in my brain from reading these books, how it probably like 5 times. Each book I've read at least like 5 times in my life. So I was like, is it because he was on the step and like popped out too far that then they saw the building? But she doesn't say that. She specifically mentions his elbow, not like they've seen the stoop.
She mentions his elbow. Yep.
So I'm like, am I supposed to believe the invisibility cloak is literally like, for lack of a better term, like a graduation robe with a hood? And his like, if he rolled up his sleeve, you would just see like his elbow and forearm. Like, I was really trying to be like, how is he under the cloak, but they see his elbow? Make it make sense.
Well, especially because we learn in this book that this is we've always known this is the invisibility cloak. There's a reference in the first book to it being like, there are other invisibility cloaks, but they aren't as good. They're basically like charms on a cloak. Yeah. We are about to learn that this is the invisibility cloak. Mama,
girl.
The only one.
Yeah.
So and
they
it's
all
a cloak.
They all fit under the cloak. So surely it's like a super king size sheet.
You're basically wearing a duvet.
Yeah. I'm like, come on.
So how does your elbow come?
I don't know. I was so stuck on that. Like, I was just like, you really just put this in here and didn't even realize what you were saying. He's in the invisibility cloak, but they see his elbow. Girl. I did not understand that. So anyway, he goes to head down to the basement, where we know is we know that is where the kitchen is. He has a stolen copy of the Daily Prophet. The jinxes are still jinxing. So the dust monster pops up. His tongue gets tied. This would be so traumatizing. This is so wild that she writes how casual this is for Harry specifically.
Can I ask an even dumber question than this?
Oh, okay.
Why can he not apparate into the house?
I don't know. Maybe just because it's a family home, there are like rules. That was the only thing that I was like, yeah, I know. No, I know.
Sure. It's like, that's the thing, whatever. Is like, there's so much that like, I don't expect, listen, I've already said that these books are so long, and then there's a level that I'm like, I can't justify then being like, you didn't explain this enough, but like, it's just so weird because it's such an obvious question.
Yeah, there's so many times where like she'll write in Hermione to answer like a simple question like this. Like the whole, you can't apparate onto Hogwarts grounds.
Yeah. We get that like, once a book.
Yeah, we get the reminder of that. So watch, someone's in our comments right now being like, actually in book 5 in chapter 34, there was a moment where, please tell me though, like where was it?
There was no chapter 34 in book 5, so fuck you, listener.
How many were there? It was like 31.
I think it was 32.
Okay.
It was like around 30.
Fuck you, listener. So yeah, the jinxes are just still happening, which I was like, it is so crazy. Like a lot of times when she writes stuff like this, I'm like, wow, I think JK herself has like unprocessed trauma.
Oh, there were.
Because
chapter 34 is the Department of Mysteries.
Oh! Yeah.
There were 38 chapters in that book, Ari.
38. Well, I remembered because 5 is like super freaking long. So that's why I went with 34.
And she still did like a shorter, she did shorter chapters in that book. This book I think only has 30, but they're longer chapters.
Okay.
Anyway, never mind.
So, Creature, when Harry gets down into the kitchen, Creature has been very on top of his cleaning with the gifted locket. So this is really motivated Creature to turn over a new leaf. And I don't know how much I want to get into this, but I'm like, are we supposed to take away that she's like, just treat your slaves well, and then it's fine? Like, I'm like, what are we saying with this? Like, don't get me wrong. I love that Creature is like living a happy life now. I would prefer Creature not be a slave though still. Thanks.
Let's watch this space and see if Harry has the foresight to free Creature at the end of this book.
Yeah.
I'm not holding my breath, but you never know.
So, he's really been on top of his cleaning. The house is like completely unrecognizable. Everything is spick and span. Creature himself is all clean and tidy. He's sporting a snowy white towel and wearing Regulus's locket. He takes the cloak from Harry and he goes to like hang it up. So again, just like a doting servant. I do remember there was a while back where someone mentioned like this is like how there obviously were very wealthy houses that had service workers that lived in the house, like Downton Abbey. But again, I'm pretty sure those people still earned like an income. So the difference is like the house elves are not being paid.
Do house elves not do laundry?
No, they do. They're supposed to. Remember, because there was that line where Ron said Molly wanted a house elf to help with the laundry. That was like a specific
How do they touch
line.
the clothes? They just can't be handed the laundry?
They can,
put the laundry down and then be like...
Yeah, they can pick up the dirty clothes, but yeah. insane. So Ron and Hermione are sitting in the kitchen. Harry throws down the Daily Prophet that he stole from someone, and it's revealed that Snape has become the headmaster of Hogwarts. Mm-hmm. Obviously, no one is happy about this because obviously everyone is like, he murdered Dumbledore.
I'm thrilled. I mean, I think this is a great next step in his career. I think this is a great fit
for him. Yeah.
I think
maybe an unconventional choice, but...
Sure. But you know what?
Push the envelope.
Let's shake up Hogwarts. You know what I mean? For too long, it's been run this way.
No, do you know what, Adam? I would be furious, and you know why? Because Minnie was robbed.
Why would we be scared?
This woman.
I mean, like, I know why it's Snape. I'm not an idiot. But, like, if this was the real world and I read this in the Daily Prophet, I would be like, she is the vice principal of the school.
Minerva McGonagall has paid her dues. You know, she, like, went down to the hospital wing with Poppy and was like, have you seen this shit? And Poppy was like, she was like, girl, I already know. You know, and that should be you in there, girl. That should be you. And then
let's
Poppy,
share some cosmos.
Yeah, and then Poppy was like, if he ever comes down here for some healing, you know. Oh, so sorry, busy. Oh, sorry, I have to go do this actually. Good luck. You can sort that out by yourself, can't you? You were the potions master. Yeah. You don't need my help. So we also learn Snape is not the only change in lineup. I mean, I guess he was already there, but like, you know, he's not the only news of changes to Hogwarts. Electo Caro is going to take over the Muggle Studies classes, and then her brother Amicus will be teaching Defense Against the Dark Arts. But it is called Defense Against the Dark Arts still right now.
Yes.
That's how it was referred to in this article. Mm-hmm. So obviously they're all like, oh my God, this is horrible. But Hermione in particular is like, oh my God, I cannot believe this. He'll be in there in the headmaster's office. And then she's like, Merlin's pants. And I just want to say for all the readers that aren't familiar with like UK terminology, pants mean like undies, underwear.
Oh, got it.
And I have a funny... panties. Yeah. I have a funny story about this because one time I went in for a massage and she was like, yeah, just take everything off, but just leave your pants on. And so I got on the table in like my full like sweatpants.
Trousers.
And she was like, you can, I was like, well, you said pants. And she was like, oh, no. She was like, no, take your trousers off. And I was like, oh, see, we call these pants. I was like, yes, I will definitely not take my underwear off like for a massage. But it was just so funny because I had no idea that pants were like underwear. So yeah, pants. She's basically saying Merlin's undies. And then she rushes upstairs. And Ron's like, oh, wow, she must be really upset going on about Merlin's pants.
What do you think Merlin wore? Do you think he wore Calvin Klein's? What kind of pants do you think Merlin bought?
Adam, you know this was the pantaloons era.
That's true.
He might have gone commando. You don't know. Merlin, you know, he was like that one wizard in book 4. He likes a healthy breeze around his privates.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Hermione runs upstairs. Creature is like whistling as he's serving up this French onion soup to Harry and Ron.
This is Ari's waking nightmare meal.
Yeah, don't you like French onion though? Don't you?
I love French onion soup.
Yeah.
It's so good.
But yeah. So he's like, he isn't Harry, obviously, because we're assuming this is from Harry's point of view. Is reflecting on how much better Creature's cooking has gotten as well. And so they talk about how weird it is not going back to Hogwarts because the Hogwarts Express left like exactly 6 hours ago from when they're having this conversation. Then we also get one of these little throwback moments that she's kind of sprinkling throughout the book. This one is when Harry's reflecting back on when he and Ron were in the Ford Anglia following the train into Hogwarts because they had missed the train thanks to another house elf, Dobby.
Yes, this is This is the last book. Let's remember our fond memories together.
Let's remember where we've been. What is that song by Vitamin C? As we go on,
we remember
all the times. I used to love that song. The graduation song is what that was called, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So Harry's like, oh, you know what? I bet Ginny, Neville, and Luna are all sitting together, already planning how they're going to fight back against Snape and these new professors. And so then Hermione finally comes back down. She reveals she went up to get the large framed portrait of Phineas Nigellus because obviously he's able to flip back and forth between his portraits, and his other portrait is located in the headmaster's. Do they say study? Office? Office. Headmaster's office. So she's like, yeah, now all he'll see is the inside of my little handbag. So ha. And Ron's like, yeah, good thinking. And then Hermione's like, anyway, Harry, what else happened today? And so we find out that they've been, this is what they've been doing for the past month, Adam. They've been spying on the entrance to the ministry in hopes of seeing Dolores Umbridge. And so there's like a couple of things that they've picked up on. Ron is like, I don't think we are ever going to see her because she's Umbridge and she'll definitely think she's like too good to be walking into work. So she'll take the flu network, which... I'm sorry. Why everyone should be taking the flu network? I don't think that's her thing. She's too good for it. If you can get directly into the ministry, get directly into the ministry.
We find out in like a minute that like apparition into and out of the ministry has been suspended.
Isn't allowed now.
And so everyone is apparating just around the corner.
And then walking
like, into
the ministry. Yeah. So
I don't understand the wizarding world, girl. I don't. I would be like, can we have a real conversation about what is efficient, honey? What are we doing?
Let's be real. Come on. Get it together, ministry.
You better hook my fucking fireplace up to that goddamn flu network, bitch.
Or you're going to be paying me 45p per mile.
Maybe to hook, maybe it's like a cable or like a phone bill. Like maybe the flu network, you have to like pay the ministry to like be a part of it or whatever. Yeah.
I'm on the members plan. I'm on the flu member plan.
It's so crazy to me.
So they're talking about a specific witch that they know is a ministry witch worker. Because I'm guessing like what she was wearing. And then the wizard who they know, or we learn, Ron knows, this wizard wearing navy blue robes is a magical maintenance worker. Because Ron knows this because obviously his dad works for the ministry. Mm-hmm. And Hermione is like, why are you just now mentioning that? We need to write that down somewhere. We need to know this. And he's like, oh my God, sorry, I forgot one thing. And she's like, you have no idea how important all these details are. We're trying to break into the Ministry of Magic, which is now controlled by the one and only Voldemort.
We're trying to January 6th Congress, okay? Literally. Can you be serious?
And so then she's like, this is so important. Like, we need to know we need to have every tiny itty bitty little bit of information that we can get. And Harry's like, I think we need to do it tomorrow. And Hermione like almost passes out. Hermione's like,
okay. Why don't we do it right now? Why don't we just apparate right there? Let's even try to take over anybody. Let's actually just apparate right into the middle of the Ministry of Magic. Let's go. Yeah.
She's like, sure. And she's like, what do you mean tomorrow? And he's like, honestly. And Ron, to be fair, Ron is also like, are you for real? But Hermione is the one that is the most exasperated because she's just like, are you? Obviously, Hermione, we know Hermione loves a plan. Hermione is Miranda.
Sure. A girl after my own heart. Absolutely.
Yeah. Miranda would be like, I'm sorry, we're going to the ministry. When? I haven't even booked the
fast pass, the lightning lanes.
I don't even have an itinerary put together.
Right.
So she's like, yeah, tomorrow? I'm sorry, did you just say tomorrow? And he's like, it's not like we're going to be able to get any more prepared than we already are. I think it's just more important that we just do it soon. So there's a bit where they talk about Umbridge and how, like, they're like, we need to get there because the longer we wait, this is Harry. Sorry, I should specify. Harry is saying the longer we wait, the like further away we're going to get from the locket, which I'm like, I don't know how much I agree with that necessarily, because I'm like, I don't think she's giving the locket away. But because they start talking about the locket possessing her, I'm wondering if they're like the locket could like remanifest, like with the diary. Are they worried that like he's gonna actually like manifest out of the locket and like take over? I don't really know. Because again,
but that never happens again.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. No other Horcrux, like nothing like that happens.
Well, this is how you know it wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be a Horcrux. Yeah. So, but it was interesting hearing them kind of talk about her potentially being possessed by the locket, because Harry makes a good point. He's like, I don't think it would make much difference. She is already so evil. But then I was like, well, wait, that's actually a good point. So if someone is already like a bad person, is the locket just not going to have an effect on them? They're like immune to it? Or is it like a Lord of the Rings ring situation? And like the last person you'd want to have the ring of power was like Denethor, like Boromir and Faramir's dad. So like, would he just be like made even more evil?
How long has she had this locket?
Months at this point. Oh no!
She would have had it at Hogwarts.
Wait, no. He found no. He found he confronted Mundungus in book 6. Because obviously we know, even though they cleaned out the house in book 5, Creature stole the locket. So
Creature stole the locket, so he...
So it would be... Okay. She could have had it, though, since at some point... Whenever that... What was it? Winter. So yeah, she could have had it for like 6 months. Because winter is when Harry sees Mundungus. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was interesting. I was like, are we just supposed to believe she's not affected?
We are about to find out in the next few chapters that like it has a very quick effect.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. So I was like, I don't know if I just buy the idea that because she's already evil, it won't affect her. I was like, isn't that like worst case scenario, actually? That like she's just going to become more and more horrible? Because that's what the locket like brings out, kind of like the worst in everyone.
Yeah. She brings out the worst in herself, honey.
Oh, she's already her worst self. So there's no higher self left.
Yeah. Where else is there to go?
Yeah. The only way is not up, it's down. The only way is down. And
we haven't gotten there yet, and maybe I just don't remember, but I feel like it's just so strange that Dolores Umbridge was like, oh, this locket's so pretty. There's something about this story that I feel like doesn't really hold water for me, because I'm like,
she's like, give me that.
She saw Mundungus selling wares and was like, I think that's gorge, honey.
Yeah. Yeah, in his like little like jacket, like the watch.
Yeah.
But see, this is a moment where she could have made it like the locket like called to her, like the ring in Lord of the Rings, like something like that, where it was like,
or like made it be like Dolores is a Death Eater, and she knew it was like important to Voldemort and wanted to like she could have like gone all the way. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's so strange. It's so Dolores Umbridge, who is obsessed with following the and like I understand the point is that she's a hypocrite, right? Like she cannot follow the rules and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But like over a locket, over that we don't even know is like that attract. We don't know what it looks like.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about it. Maybe it's pink. Maybe he gets it and it's a pink jeweled locket.
No, it's
and I'm like,
gold.
oh,
We
okay.
know it's gold. We know, but maybe just because it looks so
maybe
fancy.
It's rose gold.
Well, she says later there's an S. Yeah, rose gold. There's an S on it, and she like touts that she is like, is it like the Selwigs or something with an S? That she's like, I'm a part of this very long pure blood family, and so she like lies about the locket to try and like boost her like pure blood status. Because then we find out on Pottermore at some point, or now what is it, the Wizarding World, that she was actually, her dad was a Muggle, I think, or a Muggle born. So she isn't a pure blood at all. She's just lying.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm like, great, cool. Pick me. So anyways, back to Harry, Ron, and Hermione. They're talking about breaking into the Ministry. They know roughly where Umbridge's office is because someone mentioned it, like outside the Ministry when they're walking into work. Their plan is to take Polyjuice Potion.
Well,
and
they said Dolores. They were like, we have to go to Dolores's offices on the first floor, and they are fully assuming she is the only Dolores.
Yeah,
in the entire Ministry of Magic.
So their plan is to take Polyjuice Potion and transform into the magical maintenance man and the witch, because like they've seen that they're the two that are like that walking in alone the most often, since they've obviously been just like standing out there watching. And then Ron tries to talk Hermione out of going because she's on the list of Muggleborns who were mentioned in the Prophet because they didn't present themselves to be interrogated. And Hermione responds to this by saying, well, you're supposed to be at home with Spattergroit, so you shouldn't go either then.
And Harry's supposed to be dead or whatever.
And she's like, and if anyone shouldn't go, it's definitely Harry, because there's like this like huge galleon prize money like on his head basically. And then there is this funny bit where Harry's like, okay, yeah, that's fine, I'll stay here. Just let me know if you ever end up defeating Voldemort, where they all have like a good laugh. And then Harry's scar suddenly throbs in pain, and his hand like kind of like involuntarily jumps up. Yeah.
Okay. So he said the name.
Yes. I know. I think I had the same thought that you're thinking, I bet.
So then I was like, we find out why his scar hurts because he has a vision.
Yeah.
But at first I was like, do they know? So then they definitely know they're in there.
Me too. So they would know, but they still can't access the house.
Right. They definitely can access. Yeah. I'm fully on board with that. That's fine.
So, but they know.
Still don't know if I'm on board that Snape hasn't told them how to get in, but sure.
Yeah.
We have a comment later that I'm going to address because we'll get to it. It's
okay. Yeah, I can't remember what Snape like says or like what happens with Snape that explains away why he got away with not giving any information about.
My guess is there's not going to be any explanation.
Okay.
That's going to be my guess.
So Harry's like, I was just fixing my hair. That's all I was doing, like trying to play it off like his scar wasn't really hurting, but Hermione is not convinced. Ron does not notice at all. Ron is like, okay, continuing to talk about the Ministry. Harry's scar is continuing to like get more and more painful. So he gets up from the table, even though Creature tries to convince him to stay because he hasn't finished his soup. So he's like, oh, I have a savory stew if you want to try that, or I could give you the treacle tart because I know you love that treacle tart I make. And Harry's like, oh no, I'm just going to the bathroom. I'll be right back. So he rushes up to the bathroom. He's like aware that Hermione is probably like still like suspicious. And then just right away, as soon as he gets into the bathroom and kind of like falls to the ground, he's in Voldemort's mind. So he's walking down a road of what is described as like gingerbread houses. So like German style houses is what we're led to believe. He knocks on a door. A woman that obviously Harry doesn't recognize opens the door and looks terrified. Voldemort tries to get Grigorovich's location out of the woman, but she just in German is like, I don't know, but then also is saying like, he move in English. I know him not. And then obviously we know Voldemort well enough to know that this woman probably isn't going to get out of this unscathed, even though she clearly probably is telling the truth. So she doesn't know. She just lives in the house now. I can assume what he does is like Crucio her because she screams. Yeah. When he like tries to put some type of curse on her. Then her children run out into the hallway, and then Harry sees a flash of green light before Hermione. He like comes back because Hermione's pounding on the door trying to get in. He opens up the door right away. She ends up like toppling into the room. Ron comes in and his wand is raised. And then she's like, what were you doing? And he like tries to play it off like he was actually going to the bathroom. He's like, what do you think I was doing, with like sass? Yeah. And Ron's like, you were screaming your head off. So,
well, I had a big BM. How dare you?
It was really painful.
How dare you?
Ron, I told you I had hemorrhoids in confidence.
Creature needs to put some fucking fiber in that fucking meal. My God.
That stew is not fibrous enough. And so, I thought that was crazy. I was like, Harry, are you like a compulsive liar? Like, I was like, you genuinely, because he did say, sorry, before they come in, he did say he knew he had cried out. Yeah. Like, he was like, he must have cried out. So I'm like, bro.
What do you think I was doing? We thought you were pooping.
You were screaming your head off. So clearly you weren't pooping. And then he's like, fine, you know what? I saw Voldemort murdering a woman and her whole family. They're probably all dead now. And he's like, it was literally for no other reason than they just were there. It was Cedric all over again. And then Hermione's like, what do you mean you're still seeing this? Dumbledore wanted you to close this connection. You shouldn't be seeing this inside his head. It's really bad, Harry. And he's like, look, at least I know what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And I really can't get the hang of the whole occlumency thing anyway. And she's like, well, you never really tried. You never really actually tried to do it. And then she's like, what? I don't understand, like, why you won't just like try to get rid of this connection. Like, do you like this connection? And then she kind of like doubles back because obviously Harry is like, are you for real? And she's like, oh, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. And he's like, of course I don't want this connection. It's horrible. But he's like, but since I have it, I'm going to use it. And she's like, tries once again to be like, but Dumbledore said you shouldn't. And he's like, forget what Dumbledore said. This is my choice. And he's like, I want to know what he's looking into. I want to know why he's trying to talk to this wand maker, Grigorovich. And then he mentions he's curious about like why his wand reacted the way it did when he had Lucius's wand. Mm-hmm. And he's like, maybe Grigorovich will know, like he'll know why that's happening. And then he's like facing away from them, but obviously they're in the bathroom. So there's a mirror where he can see Ron and Hermione like exchange a look behind his back. Mm-hmm. And then he's like,
because they don't believe that he was not the cause of the wand doing whatever the wand did.
Yeah. So Hermione's like, Harry, that was you that did that. Like, why won't you just acknowledge that, like, you were able to do something like that in a dire moment of need? You were able to do that. And Harry's like, I know it wasn't me. I know it wasn't. So I don't know what else to tell you.
If this is not answered in this fucking book, I am going to throw this computer out the window.
The listener, there was a listener that commented saying it's explained in King's Cross, apparently. I just don't remember. Okay. So Hermione is not convinced, but they end up dropping it, and they end up going over the plan tomorrow. They go back downstairs and go over the plan for tomorrow. Harry ends up sleeping in Sirius's room. He's sleeping in there now, and he's kind of going over the plan in his head, but also thinking about Grigorovich. And he's just curious how long he's going to be able to like run from Voldemort.
Yeah.
So it's the next morning, the day of the heist. It seems like none of them slept very well.
Yeah.
I think just because it's like such a big day. Hermione's done all the planning and assembling of supplies, of course, because, you know, that's just what women do. And then Creature says he'll have a steak and kidney pie made up for them when they come back.
Fiber.
Fiber.
Where's the fiber?
Where's the fiber? Put some sweet potato in there. Come on. And then there's this horrible comment made by Ron. Adam, do you know what I'm referencing?
My God, yes, I do.
But I was like, and again, we've said this about Ron before, but like, I don't understand what her idea of having Ron say lines like this is, because I'm like, we're supposed to obviously like Ron and like agree with Ron. But this is where I almost just think like, is her sense of humor like kind of like fucked like this?
Probably.
Apparently now, yes. But I just am like, that is such a weird thing to write. So Ron is like, oh, wow, he's really grown on me. He's like, remember when I used to fantasize about cutting his head off and sticking it up on the wall?
Yep.
And I was like, oh my God. Then it's such a cat, and then they just like, it's supposed to be like a little like, ah moment. And then she just moves on to the next thing. Like, I'm like, that is not funny at all. What are you talking about?
It's so strange because the narrative of Dobby in book 2 is that slavery is bad.
It's horrible. Like, should not exist.
The stance that the book has is that Dobby should be free.
Yeah. Is it just because he's owned by the Malfoys?
I do not know. The
rest of the book is literally her like poking fun at it with the whole spew thing and how we're supposed to think Hermione is annoying for wanting to stand up for them. And then like it's normal for Ron to make comments like this or like basically exploit like the fact that
it's like it gets bad with Winky by being like, oh my God, look how she suffers because she was like freed. And then it gets even worse with Creature.
Yeah, I just really don't understand like what the point with this was. Because it's not, the thing that I want to clarify is it's not her making a nuance, like it's not being like, oh, it's nuanced where like, even though Ron's family doesn't own house elves, there still is like this like internalized thing of how they see house. She's not doing that. She's not trying to do that.
There's very little nuance in these books, to be honest.
So I'm like, it's not, and there's never a moment where it's like Ron's called out and like, changes his way of thinking. Like he's never challenged to think a different way about it. Because if she was doing something like that, I would hope that would be the point. So yeah, that was just like horrible. I hated that moment. I was like, what the fuck? So there are still Death Eaters outside the house watching for them. So they take turns apparating off the stoop with Hermione because Hermione's like the strongest apparator, I guess.
Because again, they can't apparate
out of the house
from inside.
Yeah. So apparently you just can't apparate into anyone's home.
We get the thing in like book 6 where they're like, why don't we just apparate into Slughorn's house or whatever? And Dumbledore's like, oh well, it's polite courtesy, rah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
They just don't do that.
But like that doesn't say like you can't apparate directly into your own house. Like Arthur, when he always comes home after work, he walks up to the house through the garden. Yeah.
Yeah. So he does walk up somewhat. So that's what I was saying. I was like, I do think everyone does. But in book 5, when they're coming to Grimmauld Place, they do apparate like directly to the street. Do they not? Or do they walk from somewhere else? I'm trying to remember now. Because I don't think we do have an example of where anyone apparates directly into a house. We don't have that.
No, we don't. The only apparition that happens inside I could think of was when the twins started apparating between floors.
In the house.
They didn't want to walk. Yeah.
Well, there you go. They are in the house then. Apparating within the house maybe is allowed.
Yeah. But that's, yeah.
I don't know.
You can't apparate into outside into a building. Like
it's never explained, but also like doesn't make sense with when there have been times where the twins have apparated. So it's like, what is it? What is the rule then?
Right.
So
now I'm going to be on the lookout for any time if they apparate into or out of a building at any point in this book.
I think they do apparate from Bathilda Bagshot's house.
Great.
Yeah. So that would be our first example of them apparating in and out of a house. Or like out of a house, I guess, specifically. So,
and I'm sure it's just like a pleasant tea with her is what happens in that chapter.
Yeah. You know, just a little
very calm.
Yeah. So they end up stunning a little wispy-haired ministry witch. As soon as they get to outside of the ministry, they kind of like wait for her to arrive and then stun her. Then they hide her body in like a dark passageway in like a theater building that's like nearby. They hide her like backstage. They take some hairs. Hermione takes a polyjuice potion. We learn it's our girl, Mafalda Hopkirk.
It's Mafalda.
It's Mafalda, the girl we've gotten the letters from. Hoping you are well. Her.
They're hoping you are well. There is a point at which she is said to be an assistant in that office, and I was like, I thought she was the head of the magical enforcement, or not magical enforcement, underage, magic.
Got demoted apparently.
Wow, poor Mafalda.
I know, Mafalda girl. So Hermione takes the potion. They get some little tokens because they were talking about how they need these tokens to get into the ministry. They're already running a little behind, so the boys get back under the cloak, and then Hermione just stands there, obviously now as Mafalda. There's a wizard that appears, so Hermione and the wizard end up heading towards the ministry. Hermione insists he have a suite after he says he has kind of a bit of a tough day or something, what she assumes is him saying he's ill, not feeling well. Yeah. But he didn't say that. So
no,
they just assumed that. So Hermione's like, oh, have a suite. And he's like, no, I'm okay. And she's like, I insist. So then he just takes one from her because he doesn't want to be rude. And then he ends up vomiting as soon as he puts it in his mouth. Obviously, this is a Fred and George original.
It's a puking pastille.
A puking pastille. And so Hermione takes this moment to tug some hairs off his head as he's throwing up, which I was like, this poor man. Made him vomit and then you're yanking hairs off his head. Oh, poor guy. And so then he vigorously is trying to argue with her that he needs to get into the ministry. And she is very startled by this. And she's like, what do you can't go into work like this? Look at the state of you. No, what do you mean you want to go into work? And so then she's like, I think you need to go to St. Mungo's, which I was like, that's what you do? You just go to you're throwing up, so you just go to St. Mungo's directly.
Ari, RJ and I just talked about this we were recapping a survival show, and one of the contestants, he burned his hand making tea. Oh. So he comes into the practice and he's like, I went to the hospital because I burned myself. And I was like, it must be nice to just go live in a place where you're just like, yeah, I just went to the hospital because I injured myself. Because what do you mean? I would literally
just go.
The last time I was at a hospital that was for myself, I was I was in 7th grade, and it was because I was dehydrated, so they had to give me an IV because I was I felt so bad. And genuinely, that's the last time I was at a hospital.
Yeah.
And I'm saying I'm very lucky, but also Americans do not go that's not a thing.
I've only gone to the hospital twice in my life. Once in high school when I fainted when we were doing Michael J. tests, which now I'm I literally just was not eating enough. That's why I was fainting. Okay. So anyways, where were we? We're talking about okay. So the wizard is throwing up. He does eventually apparate off the street because Hermione's you can't go to work in the state. Ron obviously gets the hairs from Hermione, takes the potion, and transforms into this guy that just left. They talk about how weird it was that he wasn't wearing his blue robe since he was so adamant that he needed to get into work today. And then they end up getting Harry hides while Ron and Hermione go off together and end up getting hairs from this. They're it's a random tall man with a dark hair and a beard. And they're he's just gone home with a horrible nosebleed. So you'll be fine. He's gone. So Harry transforms into this man. Crazy that they're just we don't know who this is. They were
they just took a wild guess.
Yeah. They're okay, we've got our people. And then Harry will just pick a rando for you. It's fine. I was
and we'll choose the biggest, meanest person we can find.
Yeah. So they all have their tokens. Hermione's we got to get going because it's almost 9, which I guess is they're kind of running behind. Not the fucking bathroom, Adam. There's a bathroom in this book. Why do we have to talk about a freaking bathroom?
She is, I think she's weirdly obsessed with bathrooms. There are so many bathrooms in these books.
I just
not to go back to the whole thing of it all, but
yeah. There's just so many times where it's like, okay, see ya, I'm going this way, you're going that way. Like, so they go into their separate bathrooms. They flush themselves into the ministry, but not before a guy makes a joke who's like, I can't believe they're having us do this. Who do they think is going to come in here and show up? Harry Potter? Harry Potter?
Harry Potter? Could you imagine if Harry Potter showed up right now? That'd be crazy.
That's your sensational.
Sensational. Sassy. Sensational.
Oh, it's so good. So they make it into the ministry. They have arrived. There is a new statue. The gold fountain that we remember is gone. And there was a problem with that gold fountain.
Was already bad enough,
yeah,
right?
There was already a problem there. But this one's even worse. There's now a black stone pair of statues, a wizard and a witch, which I was like, I'm honestly surprised the witch is even there. I'm surprised it wasn't like the wizard on like a giant throne and the witch like standing behind,
kneeling before him,
or something like that. But I was like, maybe Voldy doesn't want to be too on the nose.
Yeah.
So then they end up getting closer to it because they're meeting up with Hermione. She like beckons them over. And then when they get up closer to the statue, they realize that the witch and wizard are sitting on a pile of naked men, women, and children, aka muggles. And it's mentioned that they all have kind of like stupid expressions on their faces. So they've been portrayed in a very nasty, like, what's the term? Like
Voldemort didn't want to be too on the nose. This couldn't be more on the nose if they tried.
Yeah. It's just
this is like that bit of dirt on your nose. Did you know? Just there.
It's very just reducing them to like not sentient be like a live, like treating them like livestock or something, like for the slaughter. Yeah. It's gross. So they're like, oh my God, this is horrible. Hermione's the one that points out that they're muggles in their rightful place. And then they continue deeper into the ministry. Someone ends up yelling out Cattermole, which is who Ron is. And then there's a wizard that comes up and starts talking to Ron, who Harry recognizes from being at the scene of Dumbledore's death. So confirmed Death Eater. And it is said that they can feel the fear like ripple through the people around them. And everyone is like looking like down, not making eye contact with him, trying to avoid his gaze. So we've learned that his name is Yaxley. And he is the head of magical law enforcement. And he's coming to talk to Ron. Yeah, new title. He's coming to talk to Ron because the person that Ron is dressed up as is a parent, should like be responsible for sorting out this issue he's having in his office, which is that it's raining in his office. I don't know how that happened. It's like, did someone like play a prank on him? Like, what is the
right? It's so strange.
So, and it's not explained. It's
supposed to be like the medical equivalent of being like, there's a pipe leak in my office.
Yeah. There's a leak in my office. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Fine.
Yeah. So yeah, he's like, you need to go and look into why it's still raining in my office. And he's like, oh, that's not good. And he's like, I'm sorry. Do you think that's funny? I wouldn't be laughing about that if I was you, because your wife has her blood status reviewed today, doesn't she? In like an hour. And I'm heading down there right now. So I think you should do this for me, because otherwise I'm not going to be very kind during her review. And he also says some bullshit about, oh, your wife is accused of being a mudblood. I'm surprised you're not down there. Or are you trying to like jump ship? He's like, I would certainly never be accused of being with a woman who was accused of being a mudblood. It's just all very weird and yucky. And he's just throwing mudblood around. So then he goes off Ron's like, oh my God, what, I need to fix this, or my wife or his wife is going to be like in a ton of shit. And so Hermione's like, try finite incantatem first. And then if that doesn't work, try impervious.
Because what are they doing with the Muggleborns? Like, what are they doing? Like, they're registering them. Are they putting them in Azkaban? Because the whole thing is like they're stealing magic, but are they...
So I think that we're just supposed to think that it is like the Holocaust.
Oh, for sure. 100%
So they're
for sure.
Are they?
Yeah.
But we never hear that if they're like carting them off somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we do in this book. Maybe we hear rumors of where they end up taking them. In the movie, there is that like really disturbing scene where they just see them carrying like bodies into the woods.
God.
Yeah, I remember being like, "Oh my God, that is horrible." Like it was, which like that's the reality of what they're trying to portray is happening in the world. Like, but I just was like, oh my God. Cause it's like they literally walk right past like Hermione, either Hermione and Harry or Hermione, Harry and Ron, like carrying like bodies. So, Ron's like getting, advice from Hermione, how to do it. He's like, let me write it down so I don't forget. So then the lift stops and then a man gets on and starts talking to Harry. He calls him Albert. And he's like, thanks for getting that one person fired. That was great. Now I might get his job. So clearly whoever Harry is polyjuiced as is like a horrible person.
Yeah.
Ron ends up going off to try and fix the rain situation in Yaxley's office. And then Harry and Hermione stay on the lift. But then after a moment, Hermione's like, do you know what? I don't know. It might be better if I go with him, because I don't know if he's going to do it right. And if we get caught, we're going to be in really big trouble. So maybe it's best if I just go with him. And then just as she goes to step out, a little toad-like woman with a bow in her hair stands outside the doors chatting with a wizard in black and gold robes.
With long hair, right?
Yeah, long dark hair. In black and
hair.
gold robes. Or it might just be long hair, but I thought it was long and dark. Long hair. We know long for sure. And then black and gold robes. So we'd assume the Wizengamot maybe, or someone on the committee, whatever it is. And that is it. That is the end of the chapter. Magic is might.
Wow. Great job, Ari.
Thank you.
That wraps up this chapter. Next week, we'll be reading chapter 13, The Muggleborn Registration Commission. Great. Just some bureaucracy to get
I was going to
through.
say, great. Well, we'll get a couple more answers on what's going on then. Yikes.
We've got some comments. Francis Gerber said 5 stars only, as always.
Oh.
I loved Adam's impression of Harry tapping into Voldy's mind. Slay. I have read fan fiction where the whole story is told with Hermione as the main character.
I would love to read that.
He did link it.
Oh, okay.
So,
I might read it.
Because let's be honest, from the very first book, these 2 boys would have been lost without her. It's sad that JK's internalized misogyny prevents her from having the main character be a capable girl, and instead she is a sidekick.
Come on. Say it louder for the people in the back.
For the people in the back.
For the people in the back.
Elizabeth Foster says, creatures at Hogwarts, remember? And to that I say, no, I had forgotten.
We talked about that, though. I was like, he was at Hogwarts before this.
For full transparency, we're in a time capsule because we're like a couple episodes ahead of like our drop schedule. Okay. The initial chapter where they get to Grimmauld Place, I do a whole bit about being like, they totally forget the creature's not there. And then the next chapter, he comes and I was like, where was Creature? And you go, he was at Hogwarts, remember? And I was like, oh no, girl, I do not remember.
Oh, well then when you I must have, that's so funny I didn't say that though when you brought it up in the previous episode. Because I was
doing a bit. Sometimes Ari, I'll be honest, I'll speak for Ari. Sometimes Ari, I'll do a bit and I can see Ari being like, I can't tell if this is just a joke or if you believe what you're saying.
Or sometimes the audio is just delayed. So I'm like, when you're saying, I'm trying to catch up with what you're saying. I'll have to watch that episode, though, to know what was going on. Because sometimes I'll realize if I listen to the episode back, sometimes you will say something that I'll genuinely have missed because if we're talking at the same time, sometimes I can't. But I don't know if that was what that moment was.
But yeah, Elizabeth, I had forgotten. I apologize.
Yeah, Elizabeth.
And then Sophia says the protective spells around the burrow broke because the ministry was involved in setting them. Now, I'm not reading you, Sophia, but I think we're doing. I think this whole comment is going to be a lot of inferring from the text that is not necessarily there. So, but I'm going to read the whole comment. The protective spells around the burrow broke because the ministry was involved in setting them up. So when the Death Eaters took control, they obviously erased all Potter protection that was set in place. I don't know.
Obvious, though.
I don't know if that's true, simply because Scrimgeour didn't know, or there was no, the ministry itself as a whatever didn't know that Harry was at the Weasleys. Only Scrimgeour knew.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I don't.
And
he
didn't tell them.
Right. That was the whole thing. So I don't know if that's true, but I mean, it would make sense if they had helped to some extent of just general protection spells. But I think I think some of the protection spells were just the things that they had been the ministry had putting out leaflets about of how to protect your home for blah blah against dark magic or whatever. Some of those we had learned about, I think, in the last book.
Yeah, could be.
I do not get why the Order relied on the ministry in this when they later on in the story can hide with the Fidelius charm at Muriel's place. Girl, I don't even remember this, so I guess we'll get there when we get there because I don't remember that. And then she says, and Snape got his tongue tied by Mad Eye's spell, so he couldn't tell Voldy the location because he immediately went there after the Order deserted it. Okay, totally, sure, Jan, but also the way Harry finds out about the secret of Grimmauld Place is that it's written down. So Snape can also just write it. You're
not allowed to write?
Yeah, I don't. Anyway, this is what I'm saying. There's some of this where there's not a desire to fully explain things, and I don't think she has to, but I do think she should try and foresee what some of the questions that could arise are to address them in the narrative, without it feeling explanatory or whatever. But
yeah, because she does that sometimes in a good way. Yeah, of where it is it doesn't feel explanatory.
But Sophia, I do appreciate the comment because I was like, oh yeah, well, good things to think about.
Yeah.
We love hearing what you guys think. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts, as well as video versions on the Ampliverse YouTube channel and Spotify. As always, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so we can get a perfect Newt score, 5 stars only, or else your beloved wife or husband will be brought in front of the Muggle Registration Commission and you'll be forced to puke all day.
Oh,
instead.
Horrible.
Not able to support.
No.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HP Anxious or YouTube at The Ampliverse. We are hosted on Spotify for podcasters, so thank you to them, and are a proud member of The Ampliverse. Check them out at theampliverse.com. Thanks, Ari.
Thank you, Adam.
And as always, Nox.